3:42 a.m. April 9, 2025. A swarm of 12 hypersonic missiles and more than 25 drones launched from Yemen hurtled toward the USS Abraham Lincoln, a 100,000-ton, $15 billion symbol of American naval dominance. It was more than an attack. It was a challenge, a direct strike at the heart of the American military presence in one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth. The Houthis-Iran alliance thought they could pierce her, paralyze her, sink her, but what followed was more than a defense. April 8, 2025. The Red Sea lay calm beneath a cloudless sky. The USS Abraham Lincoln, a $15 billion floating fortress, moved steadily through international waters. Its crew, unaware that within minutes they would face the most coordinated hypersonic missile and drone assault on a U.S. carrier in decades. At exactly 3:42 a.m., alarms shattered the silence on the carrier's bridge. Dozens of red icons appeared on the radar display. At first, it was chaos. The signatures were erratic. Some appeared to be high-altitude missiles, others skimming low across the sea surface. Then came the confirmation. A full-scale multi-vector strike had been launched from northern Yemen. 12 hypersonic missiles were en route, their trajectories arcing over the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. But that wasn't all. From the west and northwest, a swarm of over 25 drones, many of them equipped with advanced jamming systems, began flooding the electromagnetic spectrum with noise and false targets. The bridge went red, not just metaphorically but physically, as red lighting kicked in and battle stations were called. The crew had trained for this, but no drill could ever replicate the sight of hostile warheads converging on your position from multiple directions, some diving from the stratosphere, others hugging the sea like ghosts. Complicating matters, the incoming drones weren't traditional threats. These weren't designed to kill, they were built to deceive. Jamming pods, decoys, and signal distorters overwhelmed Lincoln's radar screens for a full 22 seconds. The ship's main phased array system lost track of incoming hypersonic threats, a dangerously long window in the face of Mach 7 missiles. But the crew didn't panic. Within moments, electronic warfare specialists on board began filtering out noise. The escort destroyers USS Arleigh Burke and USS Spruance, operating nearby, spun up their systems. Operators recalibrated targeting priorities manually. Teams rushed to their posts. The Lincoln was awake, and it was angry. Still, one missile slipped through the outer net, flying just above the wave tops. It detonated near the Lincoln's starboard bow. The ship shook violently. No visible damage, no hull breach, but every sailor on board felt it. This was not a warning shot. This was a message, a declaration. For the first time in decades, a U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier had come under direct multi-pronged assault by a hostile force, and though no one had yet spoken it aloud, the reaction was forming fast. This would not go unanswered. The moment the first blast rocked the hull, every man and woman aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln knew this was not a drill. In the heart of the vessel, the combat operations hub pulsed to life with an unyielding, synchronized cadence. Fingers dancing across panels, orders barked sharply, responses snapping back in the honed sharpness of battle-honed reflexes. The entire Lincoln carrier strike group, arrayed like a vigilant fleet on the rolling swells, surged into unified motion as if breathing as one colossal entity. The perimeter shield flared first into action. Miles beyond the Lincoln's protective envelope, the destroyers USS Arleigh Burke and USS Spruance, sleek warships armed with cutting-edge AI-fused battle networks, leaped to the fore. Their state-of-the-art sensors, versed in pursuing jets and guided munitions, now sketched a dire new canvas. A dozen hypersonic projectiles plummeting earthward amid a tempest of AI drones sowing chaos through cunning digital deceptions. Without a pause, defensive missiles thundered upward in calculated bursts, their exhaust trails coiling like furious lashes across the breaking light of day. In mere heartbeats, half a dozen foe missiles disintegrated in the atmosphere, fragments igniting the skyline like eerie celestial bursts. Yet the onslaught pressed on. With the high-speed dangers neutralized, the stealthy AI drones glided nearer without a whisper, veiled in oceanic interference and dipping under detection thresholds. These posed the true peril, not merely explosive but insidious, probing for the Lincoln's vulnerabilities. At that critical juncture, the intermediate safeguard activated. On the Lincoln's expansive platform, high-energy laser arrays powered up, beaming from elevated structures dotting the superstructure. Engineered for swift, unerring pursuit of nimble adversaries, they acquired the weaving drones and neutralized them from afar. Silent shafts of focused power cut invisibly through the void, lethal and unseen, triggering detonations that reverberated over the surf and scattered debris into the depths. Still, some perils evaded distant interception. The ultimate barrier, the autonomous Sea Guardian swarm, whirred into frenzy with the hum of propellers and locking mechanisms. The roar was indelible, a robotic whale unleashing a torrent of directed beams ripping the darkness. A lone AI intruder, skimming the crests, breached the line. It darted for the landing zone, swift, subsurface, lethal, only to evaporate in a storm of targeted energy from the self-governing sentinels. It burst into flames a mere 300 yards from the right flank. The shock rippled against the frame. Haze wafted across the surface, yet the Lincoln held firm, resolute and intact. Deep within, personnel clad in flame-resistant suits poised alert, gazes fixed on displays, pulses quickened, yet directives flowed even and composed. Amid the ferocity of the barrage, with more than 35 concurrent hazards zeroing in on this maritime colossus, no American soul was claimed. No plane marred. No rupture, no blaze, no capitulation. In that instant, clarity dawned. The Houthi-Iran coalition had not merely challenged a vessel. They had dared the might of the United States Navy, and the Navy triumphed. Soon, America would exact the toll from Yemen for assaulting an emblem of supremacy. Within the Combat Operations Center, the atmosphere pivoted from instinctive countermeasures to deliberate planning. This nerve hub of the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group now operated in peak directive mode. Commander Michael Torres, directing cyber initiatives, positioned himself at the central interface, gaze sharpened. The barrage had been repelled, yet the adversaries' motives were unmistakable. They aimed to infiltrate the fleet's digital core prior to unleashing a fatal strike. Signaling this was no isolated clash, it was a bold assertion, one that compelled a counterstatement. Priority 1. Restore comprehensive operational insight. Aloft, an E-3 Sentry surveillance plane executed a sharp maneuver and ascended rapidly. Its expansive radar array swept the expanse in full circle, relaying immediate positional intelligence to the Lincoln and her guardians. In short order, the veil of digital distortion lifted. The fog of disruption cleared. Clarity emerged. Concurrently, F-35 stealth fighters, mid-routine surveillance, diverted toward the southern expanse of the Red Sea. Their objective, absolute cyber supremacy. These advanced aircraft unleashed targeted intrusion pulses across the foe's operational bands. As if triggering a cascade failure, lingering hostile drones faltered, severed from command, and plummeted into the depths. The Lincoln's personnel weren't merely holding ground. They were countering with ethereal armaments. Fresh intelligence streamed from orbital assets and airborne probes, crystallizing a key revelation. The origin points were nomadic, concealed yet traceable. Thermal echoes pointed to fortified hypersonic emplacements in the highlands near Hodeidah and disguised drone depots along Yemen's shoreline. Over the placid waters, under the crimson hue of alert illumination, teams mobilized assault platforms. Ordnance handlers affixed payloads in rhythmic efficiency. Aviators scrutinized terminal waypoints without a word, while command levels refined what promised to be among the decade's most intricate counteroffensives. The narrative had evolved. The United States wouldn't merely safeguard, it would retort with resounding force. By the late hours of April 10th, the aerial bombardments had ceased. Settling dust cloaked Hodeidah, yet the engagement persisted, not aloft, and assuredly not within the veiled realms where contemporary conflicts are often decided. As global attention fixated on impact zones and blasts, a subtler, potentially transformative dynamic unfolded on the accompanying vessels of the Lincoln Strike Group. Off Yemen's shores, the USS Arleigh Burke and USS Spruance executed a distinct breed of maneuver. Their arsenal bypassed projectiles or explosives. It consisted of code streams. For quarters preceding the incursion, the U.S. Navy had refined a progressive framework for intangible combat, leveraging digital intrusions to nullify hazards sans kinetic expenditure. Now, in authentic confrontation, these mechanisms deployed at capacity. The Cyber Shield platform, revered by crews as the unseen bulwark, anchored this spectral weaponry. As the Houthis' Iran forces endeavored to revive drone functions post-US barrage, Cyber Shield propagated invasive code surges, fracturing command chains, corrupting navigation protocols, and reducing adversarial units to aimless husks. Sequentially, the drones succumbed. No pyrotechnics, no clamor, merely quiet descent and submersion. This transcended hypothesis. It functioned, marking a naval milestone. An American warship dismantled and swarmed devoid of ordnance deployment. Beyond conserving munitions, it sustained tactical agility. The vessels could maintain vigilance extended, free from urgent replenishment demands. Digital interception units on the ships scrutinized spectral emissions, pinpointing enemy bids to re-establish or recode their assets, and upon detection, they countered with amplified, astute intrusions. For each terrestrial asset obliterated, twice as many aerial ones were expunged remotely. It was triumph through deletion, and isolation was absent. Saudi naval units in proximity supplied sensor overlays and analytical feeds, broadening the strike group's scope and forging an allied mesh impervious to any infiltrator. By April 11th, reconnaissance validated the improbable. 0 fresh launches registered over 48 hours. The Houthis-Iran partnership, once audacious enough to assail a nuclear-fueled carrier, had lapsed into muteness. Their facilities fragmented, linkages paralyzed, drones neutralized. And in this muted contest, America wasn't merely equipped. It was strides forward. As the implications of this engagement rippled outward, the world began to grasp the evolving nature of power projection at sea. As dawn broke on April 12th over the Red Sea, the horizon stretched serene and unbroken. Skies that had swarmed with drones and hypersonic streaks now lay clear above the USS Abraham Lincoln and her strike group. Yet beneath this quietude resonated a profound reality, one reverberating across continents. The pinnacle of naval might had faced its trial and emerged victorious. The American counteroffensive proved rapid and unyielding, but beyond the strikes, satellites, stealth fighters, or submerged assets, what truly astonished observers was the seamless orchestration of it all. This wasn't merely a showcase of machinery. It represented the pinnacle of preparation, tactical principles, and unyielding determination. Still, amid the accolades, probing inquiries persisted. How did an alliance like Houthis Iran, relying on makeshift convoys and rugged terrain, orchestrate such a synchronized hypersonic onslaught against the planet's most sophisticated carrier formation? The Pentagon's response, articulated in subsequent assessments, centered on adaptation. In the ensuing weeks, defense strategists advocated expedited enhancements to carrier safeguards, refined sensor sieves, AI-driven intrusion countermeasures, high-velocity interceptors, and next-generation directed energy tools, including lasers and microwave emitters engineered to dismantle drones in fractions of a second. The Saudi partnership's role amplified this evolution, extending radar networks and shared intelligence that fortified multinational defenses, underscoring how alliances amplify cyber resilience in fluid theaters. The arena of conflict transforms relentlessly, threats multiplying in complexity, yet one axiom holds firm. Challenge a U.S. carrier at your peril, for repercussions are inescapable. The Lincoln Group's riposte transcended mere reprisal. It issued a resounding decree to regimes in Tehran, Beijing, or Moscow, to irregular forces concealed amid civilian landscapes, to maritime raiders, surrogate combatants, and potential disruptors alike. This exemplifies the outcome of probing American tenacity on the waves. Within a mere 48 hours, an expansive infrastructure lay in ruins, sensor hubs silenced, deployment crews dispersed, a menace quelled not solely through ordnance, but via synergy, exactitude, and superior vigilance. Rear Admiral Elena Reyes captured it succinctly in a sealed session shortly after. They struck to assert dominance. We countered to affirm that we dictate the terms at sea. That assertion didn't confine itself to the Red Sea. It spanned the globe. This episode served as a stark affirmation. In an era dominated by swarms and uneven engagements, it is composure, instruction, and solidarity that claim the field. If tales like these resonate with you, if you cherish authenticity, fortitude, and those who safeguard the oceans, then join in amplifying them. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video to bolster our channel. Disclaimer: this content is a work of fiction intended for entertainment purposes only. Any resemblance to real events, places, or people is coincidental. The content does not represent the official views of any organization and does not promote violence, illegal behavior, or discrimination. Viewers should exercise their own judgment and not use this content for purposes other than entertainment.